Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. So today we're going to learn what triggers are in n8n. When you create a workflow, it's very important to set up what's called a trigger. It's the trigger that allows the workflow to start. And depending entirely on our needs, the trigger changes. And today there are about 30 triggers available on n8n. So I simply wanted to gather these 30 nodes, or rather 30 triggers, into 10 categories. And actually, in this video, I wanted to explain to you the difference between these triggers and when we should use them. So I created a workflow where I put all the trigger nodes, and we're going to try to go through them a bit and see the usefulness of these nodes. Stay until the end of the video. I'll actually give you this workflow to download so you can test it out on your side as well. And I also put together a little documentation that shows us the relationships and examples between these different triggers. So let's start with the manual trigger. So a manual trigger simply means these are nodes. When I click on these nodes, the workflow starts to react, it starts to activate. So the first one is what we call a manual trigger. Manual trigger is simply a node, of course. That's the whole title here, which you can find there if you come here to the nodes and simply type the same title, so you'll find it. So here is the node. All the nodes we'll see here with their titles, which you can search for here to find them. So the manual trigger, which is the very first one, simply means that right here, when I carefully click on this particular node, it will automatically and immediately trigger. That is to say, it will perform a specific action and then seamlessly move on to the subsequent node. Next, you should know that I often use this type of node when I want to test my workflow or simply build the workflow, step by step, especially during the construction phase. So we'll need to just click and the workflow will be executed. Next, we have what's called the workflow trigger. This one, quite simply, will activate or trigger another workflow that exists elsewhere. Generally, we use this one, especially when we want to create what's called modular automations. That means we're going to break down a workflow into several workflows. So every time we want to call our workflow that exists on our n8n server, we come here and click. So when I click, everything that actually happens inside that particular workflow, which of course we will effectively call from this specific node, will be thoroughly executed. It's a very common and frequently utilized node, especially in the context of more complex and modular automations. We have what we call the chat trigger. The chat trigger. The workflow will execute when we start sending information through the chat. It's often used when we want to test AI agents. Agents, especially when we use them with LLMs. Artificial intelligence models, for example, an AI agent, which has, say, OpenAI or ChatGPT running in the background so that I can interact with the agent. So generally, I can use what's called the chat node. Once I've created a message, the agent will receive the messages and reply to me. So this is what we call real-time conversational automations. So this is the first and most commonly used category, and also the simplest, either by clicking or by calling a modular workflow or chat. Then there's the second category, which we call scheduling. This is simply scheduling the execution of the workflow. Quite simply, we specify a time or a set frequency. And here it triggers without any human intervention. So unlike the first categories where I have to click, this one doesn't require that. No clicking. I just schedule it, and the system will simply run automatically at a specific date or time. So I'll start with the schedule. The first trigger is the simplest one. So for this one, I simply tell it the interval. I give it a specific time, like every day, every hour, or on a given date. And so this is very useful for anything that involves recurring automations. For example, I tell it that I want you to run the workflow every day, so it will check my email inbox, for example, or to check appointments and send me a message. So as a result, it has a frequency that it will stick to. As you can see here, I can choose day, minute, hour, week, or month. And of course here, I tell it the exact time. And so this is also very useful because I can, for example, when I choose by day, I can be very specific to actually specify the exact hour and minute. The next one is what we call cron. So this one is quite simple. Actually, it's a slightly more advanced execution. So I'll show you, because here we're going to launch the workflow according to an advanced cron expression. It's used for complex scheduling. So for example, I give it a specific day or a specific time, and that's how it works. Actually, here we go. I can come here, set it to custom. That's it. And here I can actually give it what's called an expression. If I say the word expression, it's a regular expression that actually allows me to give very specific precision to my workflow. And there's what's called the interval. So the interval is also very interesting because I can tell it, I want you to execute every, say, X minutes or hours or days. And that's very commonly used for simple tasks and especially for tasks, repetitive tasks. So here we've covered the three types, what we call the schedule, so the simple schedule, the cron, and the interval trigger. And thanks to this, we can actually automate things in advance without human intervention. The execution of our workflows now moves on to the third category, which is very, very well known, what we call the webhook. So webhook. In fact, it allows you to launch a workflow when an HTTP request is received, usually from an application, a form, or an API, because that's what the n8n server does. Its strength actually is that it can connect to almost any external application. A CRM, a website, a mobile application, a web application, all external applications, they can all connect with each other and with n8n, and that's why today n8n is able to automate a huge number of tasks. So the webhook, this node here is a very popular node. Actually, it triggers the workflow when an HTTP request is made, either in GET or POST mode. It's a bit like GET or POST. That's the connection method, GET. Basically, it will receive information with GET and with POST. n8n will send information to the application. And when there is a data flow exchange between n8n and an entire application thanks to this webhook, at that point it will actually trigger the workflow. And that's what's really interesting. So here the form, so n8n, in fact it offers a very simple form to set up. Imagine you want to collect information from the user. They will enter data, and as soon as they enter the data or fill out a form and click send, then the information will be sent to your workflow, and the workflow will activate automatically. If no one fills out the form, the workflow simply won't run. And actually this is also a very commonly used node. And there's also, here it's written C trigger, but in reality it's the chat webhook. So it launches the workflow via a chat interface that's exposed as a webhook. So this is mainly used to test assistants, but also to chat with AI assistants that are accessible from outside. And imagine that you're not going to put an AI assistant or an AI agent inside your workflow, but you have an external AI agent on another website. So you want to communicate with that assistant using chat, and that's why we use this kind of node. It's true that it's not used very much, but still you should know that it exists, and it's part of the webhooks category, so triggers. For example, we often use this category, especially when we have forms. Sometimes when we need to collect leads, information, or send notifications, we use this type of trigger category. So now we're moving on to the fourth category, still dealing with forms here, but without webhooks, just forms. In fact, here it allows you to launch the workflow whenever a form is simply submitted by the user without having to write any code. And I can also mention the n8n form trigger. This one also looks similar to the webhook trigger. Basically, it just launches the workflow whenever a form is filled out, so it's ideal for quickly creating internal or even public forms. That is, I can even send the form with a URL that anyone can receive by email and fill out. Next, we have what's called the typeform trigger. So this is just an example because there are actually a lot of nodes that specialize in workflows with forms. But here I've only mentioned the three most well-known ones. This one launches the workflow after a form submission, which is what we call typeform. It's a powerful technology, a comprehensive website, a very well-known and established platform that genuinely lets you create intricate forms with advanced design capabilities, sophisticated dynamic systems, and versatile variables. This allows me to create a connection between n8n and the form made with typeform, and to use it for forms that are a bit more advanced and user experience oriented, that are simple and useful. We use it for surveys, we use it for collecting slightly more advanced information. I'll also take the example of JetForm Trigger. It's a platform that launches the workflow just the same when a JetForm form is submitted. So this is convenient for connecting existing forms to n8n. So, as always, if a user fills out a form, then the workflow is triggered. The data will be recorded, which will enrich the entire process of our workflow, because generally we set it as a trigger. We receive some information, and based on that information, I trigger my workflow. Now, let's move on to the fifth category, which is also very well known. It's thanks to social networks. You can also trigger workflows this way. So for me, most of the workflows are done with Telegram. Telegram is a network you can install on your phone, also on the web, and you can communicate, you can create what we call channels. And inside, you can have discussions between several people using a phone number. So it's like Skype, it's like WhatsApp, so it's kind of a social network, very, very well known. But why do I use it so often? Because it's the easiest and simplest to use and to set up on n8n. And so, as a result, if, for example, here I actually set up Telegram and I send, so for example, I connect to a channel and I tell it, listen, if I send a message to this channel, I simply want you to trigger the entire workflow. So that's kind of, let's say, the node, the easiest one to use. And so it runs whenever I send some information. Now let's also take the case of WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is a bit more advanced because to set up WhatsApp with n8n, of course, you have to follow certain steps and create the credential. Don't forget that WhatsApp is a Facebook product. So you really had to go into Facebook's Meta and make the connection from Meta to n8n. There are a few processes to follow. But still, it's always actually very useful. So generally we use WhatsApp, especially if we want to create a workflow that responds to the user, or that sends quotes or acts as an assistant or as a chatbot. And so the connection is made with WhatsApp. If your clients send you a message, workflows can be triggered to respond, to provide information. And here as well, there's Slack too. It's very easy to set up and connect. So it's also a very useful tool and works just as easily as Telegram. The same thing applies here. So if I send a message from Slack on a specific channel that I created, I can connect it here. What will happen is that it will actually trigger the workflow. It will retrieve the data, the information behind it. So it's not just that. I can also add Messenger. There are a lot of options, even TikTok. There are actually a huge number of messaging and chat platforms that exist on social networks. I can connect them here with n8n then. Now let's move on to what we call email triggers. So here, quite simply, the workflow can be triggered if I receive an email in my inbox. You know that all Google products today, Docs, Google Sheets, Google Drive, Gmail, all Google products can be connected with n8n. And that can also be a trigger. So if someone sends me an email, it can actually check every minute. And the system will simply activate my entire workflow. So that's a connection with Gmail. There's also the connection called email trigger, IMAP. This is actually when you create your email inbox, for example, on hosting or on a self-hosted provider, or when you host it yourself. So in that case, it's not Gmail. So as a result, I can also connect it with n8n so that every time someone sends me an email, the system can simply trigger the workflow. Also, Outlook nowadays, practically all email services can be connected with n8n, and that's the case for Outlook as well, Microsoft Outlook. We can connect it with n8n, and every time someone sends a message, the system will trigger my workflow. For example, it can detect specific keywords or messages that come from a specific email inbox. I can create a workflow based on that need. So this remains a very important category, triggering my workflow through receiving emails. Now let's talk about what we call the trigger based on storage. So here, if the system detects that a new file has been added or modified or deleted, any change in the state of a file or directory, the workflow will be triggered. As you can see here, we can simply connect Google Drive. So imagine I add my Google Drive and point it to a specific folder. So if I add a file or modify it or rename it or perform any specific action on a folder or file in Google Drive, the entire workflow will be triggered. Of course, it's up to me to connect and define what the action is, whether it's on a specific file or a specific folder. It's up to me, of course, to define that, and the system will stay on standby. Every time there's an update, boom, it will trigger the workflow. Next, we have Dropbox. You know Dropbox, it's a very well-known storage space. There are a lot of nodes that I can connect, which are related to storage. We have Amazon, we have all kinds of storage platform spaces. I can connect it here. It's also useful for Microsoft products as well. For example, like me with OneDrive, if you also have storage space on OneDrive, and I host files or information here, every time there's a change, the system, so it can be triggered like here. I can, whether I've created a file, updated a file, created a folder, updated a folder, either by adding new information or deleting information, the system here. This is also a very commonly used category, depending on the needs of workflows that work with physical data or data hosted on the cloud. Here we also have databases, which act as triggers. Of course, if I add a new row to my database, or if I modify or delete one, in other words, if I perform any action on the database, then I can trigger my workflow. And what about databases? There are a lot of them. Practically today, we have nodes for all the databases, for example, PostgreSQL. If I have a database, generally modern applications and structured data use PostgreSQL, I can connect it. And every time there is a change, it triggers the workflow. There's also MySQL, which is very well known for classic applications and websites. There's also Airtable, which is very popular for no-code databases and small teams. You can even connect Notion, you can connect any platform that contains a database, even Google Sheets. Because in the end, it's a database that I can also use as a trigger. I've only listed 3, but there are many more on n8n. Still, it's important to know that this is a category called database trigger. These are database triggers. Now we have what we call the monitoring trigger. Generally, it's used to monitor systems. So if I take, for example, the error trigger, it's a node that I add, and this one actually launches a workflow when an error is detected. So it's mainly used to handle failures and send alerts. And we also have what we call Sentry trigger. That's another example of a monitoring system. This one is used for advanced application monitoring, so generally to handle all application alerts via Sentry. And there's also what we call the AppTime robot trigger. This one launches the workflow when a service becomes unavailable or when it comes back online if it has been restored. Generally, it's used to monitor servers, also to serve websites, the internet, APIs, to know if there's an error from a server that's no longer responding. So as a result, a workflow can be triggered. It can trigger a workflow to send me emails or to restart the server. In any case, it can perform an action based on a message or an alert sent by the system. So these are triggers that we don't use often, but still it's very important to know that they exist. And finally, the last category, we call them internal triggers. So in n8n, well, the n8n internal trigger itself, it actually allows you to launch workflows from another workflow or via internal mechanisms within n8n. So without relying on an external tool. That means imagine that I'm working on modular and reusable workflows. So as a result, I'm going to use them. Now don't forget that here we've already talked about what's called the workflow trigger. So we saw it here at the beginning. But here when I click, that's when it will be triggered. However, here it's without needing me to click. This one actually can simply be triggered on its own when inside our workflow there were actions that were activated. And here we use it to organize complex architectures. And what we call the internal webhook, that one is useful for testing, orchestrating workflows with each other without requiring any human intervention.